Hi everybody, Mr. Travis here. Welcome back to the LABrary. I don't know if you caught our program last week. We talked about puppets, and last week we made a puppet theater. Look over here. This is my puppet theater that we made, and then our challenge for you this week was to make your own puppet. And you could use anything you wanted to find at home, and you could probably make your own puppet. So, you know, I looked around for stuff to find to make puppets, and I've used all kinds of things like, I found some paper plates, and, well, just some paper, and some yarn. I found some yarn, and I found some orange duct tape, and I found some markers, and what else did I find? I found a sock. I could use a sock. Socks are always great to make puppets, and so anyway, that was our challenge for this week, is to make a puppet. And I don't know if you caught last week's program. We also I showed you a little bit of a puppet show we made. As I say, I made a whole puppet theater here. And we did a little puppet show about Goldilocks and the 3 bears. And it was a great puppet show. Here's a little clip. So eventually, the 3 bears came back from their walk. All right, said Papa Bear, I'm hungry. I'm hungry too, said Mama Bear. I'm super hungry, said Baby Bear. So Papa Bear sat down. Mama Bear sat down, and Baby Bear sat down all for dinner. And Papa Bear said, well, this is good, but I could swear somebody's been eating my porridge. And Mama Bear said, yes, it is good. And I could swear somebody's been eating my porridge too. And Baby Bear said, I don't know if it was any good because somebody ate all my porridge. Yeah, so we made this great puppet, or the great puppet show, and I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope you spent some time looking around the house to make things so you could do your own puppets. Because one thing I love about puppets is that it's not only that you can make your own characters, it's that you can make your own stories. So you can find anything, anything like paper bag or plates or just markers. You can find almost anything around the house, and it can become a puppet. It could be something that you could use to tell your own stories. And you could tell stories about, well, this upcoming, our summer reading theme is all about stories, about fairy tales and magic tales. Something like what we did with Goldilocks and the 3 bears. And you can retell your stories to your friends. You can make your own plays. You can make all sorts of things. And, oops, I dropped the thing. Oh, okay, I got it. Didn't want to drop that. So, as I say, you can make puppets out of all sorts of things. You can make them out of found objects, like, well, I don't know, you could make it out of like a bicycle pump, or you could make it out of spoons or forks, or just anything you find around the house. So all these different things can become puppets. So I hope you had fun like I did, making all sorts of different puppets. And before we go on to our challenge for next week, I want to show you a special presentation of a puppet dance, where all the puppets gather together and do a wonderful dance. So here we go, the first ever LABrary puppet dance. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for LABrary this week. Next, we've got very special surprise for you. Miss Kathleen is going to do her first LABrary. For now on, Miss Kathleen and me, Mr. Travis, we're going to both do LABrary. So one of us will come on and finish and talk about what we did the week before, and then the other one will do the challenge for this next week. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So here we go with Miss Kathleen's challenge for the week. All right, see you next week, guys. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Miss Kathleen. I'm so glad you could join me today. You may recognize me from the Meridian Library at Cherry Lane in the Children's Department. I do story times and book clubs and art with many of you. I also get to work at the Tiny Library sometimes, and I visit many of your schools. I have been lucky enough to see some of you at the grocery store when we've been out getting supplies, and you've told me how much you miss coming to the library and coming to your regular programs. I want you to know we miss you too. Since we can't be together, I'm so happy to be able to share some time with you in a different way. I'm really interested in STEM, as I know so many of you are. Science, technology, engineering, and math are all important parts of our world, and it's great to learn about the way things work, isn't it? Mr. Travis and I are enjoying exploring some interesting topics that we can learn about together in LABrary. This time, we're going to talk about beans. Beans? That's right. B-E-A-N-S. Beans. You probably already know more about this topic than you may think. We're going to talk a little bit about the nutrition in beans and the body's digestion of beans. We'll also talk about preparing some beans in recipes, and I'll show you some recipes that I like. Do you eat beans sometimes? What do you like about them? Do you have a favorite kind of bean? Think about some ways that your family prepares and eats beans. In my family, we sometimes eat a salad of beans and vegetables that I like to make. The beans and vegetables get marinated, meaning that they absorb a lot of the salad dressing, which makes them taste really good. I'll share that recipe with you later. First, let's talk about the 3 different kinds of beans that I use in my bean salad. They are garbanzo beans, or chickpeas, kidney beans, and great northern or white beans. Here are some enlarged photographs that I'm going to share with you. The first photograph shows garbanzo beans, or chickpeas. What do you notice about them? I notice that they are round in shape, that they have a little point on the end, and that they're a yellowy color. I can also see, maybe you can too, that they're made of 2 distinct halves. This next photo is an enlarged photo of kidney beans. These are cooked kidney beans. They're dark red in color, aren't they? And you can tell they're cooked because they're plump and shiny. They're called kidney beans because they are said to be the same shape or a similar shape as the human kidney. Here's a picture of some dried white beans. When they're cooked, they're kind of a pink color. Those are the beans that I like to use in my bean salad. But you can use whatever beans you like. Here are the beans in their cans that I got from the grocery store. Here's garbanzo beans, or chickpeas. Here's a can of kidney beans. And here is a can of the Great Northern or white beans. When you cook them from scratch, that means when they're dried, if you can buy them dry, you'll need to soak them in water first. And then you have to cook them for a couple of hours. When you buy the beans in cans, they're already cooked. They're packaged with water. Listen. Can you hear? Let's listen. Yep, I can hear the water in there. You can drain the water off, or you can use the water in your recipe. Did you know that some people eat beans every day? Maybe your family does. My family eats beans often. In fact, beans are an important source of nutrition for people who don't eat meat products. People who don't eat meat products are called what? Vegetarians. That's right. Nutrition is what we talk about when we say certain foods are good for our bodies. They help us to build strong muscles, bones, blood, and organs. Speaking of organs, did you know that beans can make a funny reaction in our bellies? Some of you might know a little rhyme that calls beans the magical fruit and mentions toots. Well, it's true. One of the fascinating things about beans, besides how many different varieties there are 40,000 different varieties of beans. That's right. And how delicious they can be is that they mix with our body's digestive juices in such a way that they produce a little more gas than the average bite of food. Do you remember a couple of weeks ago when Mr. Travis talked about digestion in his LABrary program? Well, in our stomachs, we have special liquids and good bacteria that help to break down our food into nutrients our bodies can use. Beans are an excellent source of complex carbohydrates, fiber, and protein, all things that our bodies need. And eating them with a starch like rice makes a complete protein, something our brains and bodies need every day. Okay, let's get back to that gas question. What makes us gassy when we eat beans? Well, a digital book that I checked out from the LABrary's website on Overdrive, and that you can check out too, talks about the science of food. It's called Our Food, A Healthy Serving of Science and Poems, and it's by Grace Lynn. I happen to know the book is checked in right now because I just returned it. The book tells us that beans contain some sugars that our stomach's digestive juices don't break down as easily as some others. The sugars are called galacto-oligosaccharides. Sounds like something from Star Wars. Let's say that again. Galacto-oligosaccharides, GOS for short, and fructans. The normal bacteria in our bellies mixing with the fiber and sugars from the beans makes a gassy situation. Are there other foods that can do the same thing? Maybe you can think of some foods that make you gassy when you eat them. Having some gas is very normal for the human body. Sometimes we accidentally swallow air, or our bellies can get full of gas when we drink soda pop. Those gases and air have to come out somewhere. The gas can make us feel a little bloated or too full in our bellies, a little uncomfortable. And eventually, you guessed it, if it's not a burp, it's a toot. One thing I've noticed about my body is that after a while of eating beans a lot, my body is used to them, and I don't feel gassy anymore. I think bodies are amazing, don't you? I told you I would share that bean salad recipe with you. It contains 1 can each of the beans that I mentioned. Do you remember which ones I said I used? You know, you can use any beans you like. But here are the ones I like. So let's see. Garbanzo beans, kidney beans, and Great Northern beans or white beans. You'll like how quickly this recipe comes together. To the drained and rinsed beans, I add 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. Oregano is an herb. If you have fresh oregano, use that. Some people like to grow it in their gardens. A half a teaspoon of salt, any salt you have. Soy sauce would be good too. I add a quarter cup of vinegar. This is white vinegar, but you can use any cooking vinegar that you like or have at home. And I use a half a cup of olive oil. But you don't have to use olive oil. You can use any oil that you have at home, or you can use regular oil and vinegar dressing, whatever you happen to have. And then I like to chop up 2 pieces of, where did they go? 2 cloves of garlic. This is a head of garlic. You just need 2 of the little pieces inside here. I chop them up really, really tiny because I don't want to have a big bite of garlic. And then to that, I add a head of cauliflower, a whole head, which I've chopped up into bite-sized pieces. I'm coming back. A whole head of cauliflower and 3 carrots. I've washed and peeled the carrots. And I've carefully washed the cauliflower before I add it to my chopping board. And then I like to cut up all of the vegetable pieces about the same size as the beans. Feel free to use any vegetables that you want to. I like the sweetness and the color of the carrots. And I like how the cauliflower absorbs the flavors of the herbs and dressing. Each of the beans has its own flavor as well. The kidney beans are especially sweet, and the garbanzo beans have a kind of nutty flavor. Each texture is different too. The white beans are creamy, the kidney beans are a little firmer, and the garbanzo beans are almost crunchy. When I cook, I think some contrasting flavors and textures in my food keep my tongue interested. You mix all of this together, cover it with a lid or some wrap, and let it marinate overnight in the refrigerator. You might remember that I said to marinate means that the beans and vegetables absorb a lot of the dressing. So they absorb a lot of the flavors and become really delicious. It's ready to eat the next day and will stay fresh in your refrigerator for a week or more. The vinegar helps to preserve or keep fresh all of the ingredients. Can you think of some other ways that people prepare and eat beans? In some regional cuisines in the United States, there are particular kinds of beans that are popular. Cuisine is just a word that means a particular kind of cooking. In the southern states, black-eyed peas, lima beans, and white beans with ham hocks are commonly eaten. And in Louisiana, red beans and rice are popular. Middle Eastern cuisine uses a lot of garbanzo beans, and Northern Italian cuisine uses a bean called cannellini, which look and taste a lot like white beans. In fact, they are white kidney beans. In Mexican and Southwestern American cuisine, pinto beans and black beans are often used. We would love it if you wanted to share your own recipe. Here's a recipe you might find surprising that uses black beans. It's called Easy Peasy Fudge Bean Brownies. This recipe calls for some ingredients you might not have in your house at the moment, so feel free to substitute butter or cooking oil for the coconut oil. Another recipe I like is for hummus. Hummus is a creamy garbanzo bean dip. It's delicious with carrots or with chips or crackers. It's really good. It uses 1 can of the garbanzo beans. Hang on to the liquid. A tablespoon of lemon juice, a tablespoon of olive oil, a clove of garlic, crushed, a half a teaspoon of ground cumin, which is a spice, a half a teaspoon of salt, and a couple of tablespoons of tahini. You can leave the tahini out if you don't happen to have it. Tahini is sesame seed paste. It's a Middle Eastern preparation that comes in a jar, like this one. Kind of cool, huh? If you happen to have some sesame oil, you can add a couple of drops of that. If you don't feel like cooking, here's a really fun experiment you can try at home with dried beans and water. Remember, if you do anything fun with beans this week, take a picture or a video and share it on social media at LABrary, or you can email me with any photos or videos of you cooking with beans or experimenting with beans at Kathleen@mld.org. Thanks, friends. I'll see you here next time. Bye.